I will say.
Hello and welcome into LFC Transfer Room, another stream. And today I'm joined by James, Tino, and Jay. We'll be talking a little bit about Joe Gomez and anything else in between, whatever fills the time, really. Slow day, apparently. James, how are we?
Good, yeah. Just you're doing your best to convince me on Jordan. You're starting to create doubt in my mind, and it's doing my head in. But yeah, slow day for transfer news for us. Weird day for everyone else. So it's been an interesting thing to watch, hasn't it? You know, the Sterling thing getting up steam. I think City are going to be weaker for losing him, to be honest. So that's good news.
Very good news. Tino, how are you tonight?
I'm good. It's been a long day at work, but yeah, I'm glad I'm home. I'm looking forward to this stream. But yeah, I'm very good, very good.
Jay, how about yourself?
All good, lad, yeah. Day's dragged for some reason, but yeah, finish work, so you finish work, you're happy?
Yeah, we'll start with Gomez stuff before we start waffling about City, Chelsea, Ronaldo to PSG even. I think that's a mad one. But we'll start with Joe Gomez, set to sign a new deal at Liverpool, which is basically securing his future at us. I think it's a very smart move. Maybe the long-term Matip replacement. I do think he'll probably get more minutes this year. What's your thoughts on that, Jay? Happy to keep him, or would you sell him? Because you could probably get about 30 million for him, couldn't you?
No, I'd never sell him, lad. The season we won the league, it was Gomez, Van Dijk at the centre-half partnership, and I know obviously Van Dijk's a worthy, but I thought Gomez was just as good that season, mate. I really do. I've said it on here a few times, but there was a phase, I think we played 12 games and only didn't concede in 10 of them in the first 12 games of the season. I think it was like, that's ridiculous, mate. That's nearly like what Mourinho's done at Chelsea when he conceded, like, what was it, 12 or 16 goals or something stupid like that. So, yeah, mate, I imagine he's thinking he's long-term success at Matip, and Gomez can absolutely be the future, so I'd never let him go, mate.
Agreed. And Jen, thank you as always. Always giving us the channel, and does always go back into it. Your support is greatly appreciated. James, Gomez, happy?
Very. I think one of the things Gomez brings is he's one of the fastest defenders in the Premier League. We play such a high line. And I think what Klopp's trying to do is he's trying to think for the long term. You know, Gomez plays that quick sweeper role, and I think Konate is the long-term Van Dijk replacement, you know, that big, powerful centre-half. So yeah. I think you've got a quick one, you've got a big one. Yes, obviously Konate and Van Dijk are quick, but I think it's a really sensible move. Him and Trent play really well together. Remember that when we won the league. I think he's been the unluckiest centre-back of all time, but if he can stay fit, he's a hell of a player.
James makes a good point there, you know, about if he can stay fit. He has had a lot of injuries, unfortunately. Does that worry you when giving him a new deal, or is that not bothered? Because he can cover the right back position as well, so it's covering two positions really.
It has to worry any Liverpool fan. Like, you look at him, he's a phenomenal player, versatile, a brilliant centre half. Can play either left or right centre half as well, which is really helpful. But the injuries just really, really concern me. And as a Liverpool fan, that's something you have to look at. Because, like, when Dejan Lovren left, we shot ourselves in the foot because of injuries, not replacing him. And as much as I think giving him a new deal was the right thing to do, I think you've got to be looking more long-term as well. Because sure, Joe Gomez might be that long-term Matip replacement, but you're not going to get 40, 50 games out of him a season every single season consistently. You're just not. It's not going to happen. He's played since he signed for Liverpool. He's had one season where he's played over 40 games, and that was the title-winning season, I believe. Last season he played 21 games in all competitions, which for a centre half of his quality is not good enough. It made sense from a financial perspective, protecting his value. Long term, he's still 25. He's like a month older than me. It's like, it makes so much sense financially because you could still get a lot out of him if it doesn't work out. But I still think we need to be looking elsewhere for another centre half because I honestly don't trust him to stay fit.
What about you, Jay? Because I mean, just like Tino mentioned, he's only 25. And when you glaze over his stats, he's in the 90th percentile for like possession, defensive, and one key for me is his passing. So even though he's a centre half, he's unbelievable on the ball as well, and his distribution is fantastic. Are you happy to have him around if he is only fit for 20, 30 games a season? Do you think that, or is it like Tino said, no risk really, gets a new deal, protects his value? If it doesn't work out, we can sell him on for more?
I think it's a no-brainer to give him a new deal, and it's like when James said before, I think Kanata is like the Van Dijk replacement in terms of the aerial battles. Matip obviously comes out with the ball, but I don't know if people remember when we won the league, Gomez used to come out with the ball. He probably didn't go as far up as Matip does. Like Matip gets like outside the other team's box, but Gomez is good at coming out with the ball at his feet. The other thing as well, like you've already said, mate, he can cover it right back. I don't know if you remember this as well, but Rodgers had him at left back at one point. He played most of his games for us under Rodgers at left back. Now, obviously, I wouldn't put him there, but the fact he can play there is always an advantage because you're never going to stick Kanata, Van Dijk, or Matip on the right or the left of the fence. Whereas if we had some crazy injury tragedy the way we did the other year with the centre halves at left back, right back, it's good to know you've got a centre half who can fill in there and do a job. So no, mate, like, I know he has had his injuries, but it was one of them. The injury he had was like an unfortunate one. It's not as if, it was a muscle tear or it was a muscle injury. His knee popped out of place. Like, that can happen to anyone. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Klopp only really started making him a proper first-team player when we won the league. Played all that season, had that unfortunate injury, and last season was him really coming back from that. So I wouldn't be too worried.
At only 25 as well, James, he is phenomenal to have in the side anyway because he's a fantastic player. And for the people coming through, say you like see Calvin Ramsey's Kanate, he's still only young learning from someone like Gomez who's won the lot. It's invaluable, isn't it, really?
Exactly, and we must have ranted about Joe Gomez on lives and things like that. But I was looking at I've got his injury record: cruciate ligament injury, Achilles tendon injury, patella injury. He has missed out on a total of 3 games with a knock. Everything else is a serious injury, and that is just unlucky. Now, the thing that worries me is obviously being put back together and sewn back together. We saw what it did to Michael Owen.
Yeah.
So things are a lot more advanced now, but it was only before that patella problem, England fans were saying, he's number one, and it's another centre-back that plays with him. This is not a player that is unintelligent, doesn't have ball sense, doesn't know what to do. He's obviously a brilliant centre-back who's been really unlucky with some major injuries. But until last season, Matip was out every 3 days. Yeah. So let's trust the system that Liverpool have got. They've played him less, put his body under less stress, and now maybe they've got him in a position where he's ready to come back at full power, which would be great.
Yeah. Jen says here, good news. Still can't get my head around selling Taki.
Oh, Taki guts me. It's like we've given up on the FA Cup and League Cup.
It is true though, isn't it? He did used to guarantee you what, like 8 goals in each. He was fantastic in them. Tino, do you think the Ox will stay? Do you think he'll go? Because Liverpool surely aren't going to come out and say, yeah, he's up for sale. Us saying we want him to stay is keeping his value, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. If I'm being honest, I think he has to leave for his career. It's the same with Joe Gomez. I think Joe Gomez, if he wants to play consistently and wants to get in that World Cup squad, they both need to leave in order to achieve that. I don't see either of them getting in the World Cup squad at all. Even if they play the rest of the season, I don't see that. And be really on fault. I don't see that happening.
Do you not think if Joe Gomez played all the Premier League games at centre back from the start of the season, Liverpool kept a load of clean sheets, and he was dominant with Van Dijk, he would make it to the World Cup?
Well, December though, isn't it? But
yeah,
Who's
But
better than Joe Gomez as a centre half for England?
I don't think there is anybody. I think he's the best centre half on his day that England have. But I don't think Gareth Southgate will go, he's played 4 months of decent football. I'd rather stick with someone.
Harry Maguire, who's played 2 years of rubbishness.
Yes. Yeah. Honestly, I honestly think that'll be the case.
Surely it makes more sense though to have Tomori and Gomez. If England, I mean, I don't want England to do well, but if they play Harry Maguire, I'm made up. But Tomori and Gomez is England's strongest centre back there. Surely.
I adore Tomori. How he hasn't got more caps up until this point is beyond me. He's a phenomenal centre half, and he's been doing brilliantly for Milan. And because he plays in a foreign league, don't play in England, people just sort of disregard him and forget about him. And my word, is he a phenomenal centre half?
Roll up the Ox then, Jay. Think you'll go?
I hope so. I can't stand him, mate. Like, I know we've had people on our channel who are fans of him and think his stuff is all right, but mate, like every time he plays for us, I just scream at him, like constantly. His time's done for me, mate. He needs to. It's like Tino's just said he needs to go and play football somewhere because he's not good enough. If you want to win the league and Champions League, mate, he can't be one of your starting midfielders. I'm not asked. He can't pass. How can you play in centre midfield if you can't pass a ball? You can't. Like, nah. I've just had enough of him, mate. I'm sick of talking about him. And the fact of seeing him doing an interview the other day with LFCTR just wound me up because I thought, yeah, you don't look like you're going nowhere, you lad.
Do you not think he was talking in that interview, though, a little bit more in the sense of not us, but they? You know, like if you rewatch it, he was talking about Salah and like he was talking about the players that were here as they've got this, and he wasn't talking about us anymore. I think he's talking like he's leaving a little bit.
Yeah. I think the next move for the Ox is the most important in his career, really, because if he moves and he's at a club, say 2-3 years, that's when his kid then goes into like nursery and school and stuff. So that's where you want to half be settled, and that comes into play when whether people want to think about it or not, it does. So maybe Newcastle, where she's from, do you know?
I mean, it's an easy answer, yeah. They've got the money to pay his wages. He's on what, 120, 140 grand a week, which is ridiculous for what he contributes.
Is he on that much, yeah?
Yeah, he's on 150.
He's on something stupid like that. That's what I last read. But it makes sense for him to go to Newcastle from a family perspective. But
he's on £6.24 million in 2022 a year. Wow.
£6.24 million too much. He's not worth it. He needs to leave at the end of the day, whether it's for his career or just to leave Liverpool Football Club. He needs to leave. You look at Newcastle, you look at West Ham, look at the sides who are going to be chasing, trying to get into the top half of the Premier League and trying to chase Europa League or Europa Conference League football. I think that's the side he could probably aim for and absolutely dominate. But he's got to be playing in the right position. If you play him as a midfielder, it's not going to work. If you play him a bit higher up, I do think he'd do well as a number 10. Potentially. I think he's got that power, that drive. I think it'd be phenomenal as a number 10. But he ain't playing for a top 6 side. Not a chance.
Do you know what? There's one other way. I reckon the only way I think he could save his career, and it might be controversial, and we don't need him to do it now, but is if he was happy to play right wing back when Trent went fit. Because I think if he played right wing back, if he learned how to tackle properly, he could be an asset in that sense, but we don't need that now because we've Sam Ramsey, so he can't go anywhere. But it's just that.
He can't tackle, he can't pass. I'd keep him if he played this position.
It's just one of them, mad. Like, I'm just trying to be nice to him because he's a nice fella, isn't he? But as a footballer, I can't stand him.
I think Tino's right. It's about, if he needs to run a games, doesn't he? He needs to be playing every week. A number 10 at Fulham with Harry Wilson and Mitrovic up front could be a really good move for him. But I just don't think he's going to get the game time at Liverpool. I think he's a rhythm player. Like when he was good for us before his major injury, he was playing every week. I think it's a big impact. Certain players need it, don't they? They just need to be constantly playing.
Yeah.
Looking at the wages there, it's just sent me down a dark rabbit hole. Right? I've just seen there. I know we spoke a few. So Ben Davis, 60 grand a week. I didn't know he was contracted till 2026. Jay, do you reckon we're in a dark hole with Ben Davis where he's going to break the next Gareth Bale who just sits there earning 60 grand a week for 4 years?
His agent smashed it there, like, hasn't he? He's only had the tour of the stadium. I think that's like his biggest impact he's had. He must have been on the museum tour with a few fans. It's one of them, lad. Thank God it is only 60, and it's not some mad concert like Bale's. But I suppose what you'd do there is if you sold him, you'd just pay a percent of his wage. I'd rather pay 20 or 25 grand than pay him 60, do you know what I mean? As long as it gets him out the door and you get a couple of million for him, you may as well pay a little bit of his wage at his next club.
Yeah. You're amused, James.
I just can't believe it. I'm just trying to find it now. Granted, yes, we were desperate, and his agents definitely pulled our pants down if that was the case.
He's on the same amount of money as Costas. He's on more than Luis Diaz. He's on more than Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones and Kelleher. It's mad. Has he even been on our bench once?
No, don't think so.
Wow.
He had a picture on though. Have you seen it? And he's got the enabler in his hand. Proper shit Harvey from Liverpool. Have you seen it?
It's as if Michael Edwards is his agent.
Well,
It's weird, isn't it?
The one thing I will say is I think he has, wage-wise, he has pulled our pants down. His agent certainly has done that, but we still make a profit transfer fee-wise already, no matter what we sell him for. We could sell him for £1 and we've made a profit from the loan fees we've got from Sheffield United. We played, 1.5 total, including add-ons, and we got, I think it was just under £1 million off the top of my head from Sheffield for his loans. So
he didn't even really play there either, did he?
He didn't play a whole host of games. He did all right, but he didn't. Evidently, hasn't done good enough to earn himself a move back to them. Yeah, he certainly on the pitch made a mistake coming to Liverpool. I think he should have gone to Celtic. Apparently, he was in talks before he came to us, and then we got screwed defensively. So it was like, well, Liverpool are a huge club. I don't know what he had in his mind either. How on earth did he think it was plausible that a guy playing for Preston in the Championship would come to Liverpool and challenge for the first team after all the injuries? I don't know what he was thinking.
I am no. Wait, it makes no sense because he's never ever been on the bench.
No, I don't get it. Especially when you go through Reece Williams, because as good as he's done, like he's not good enough, is he? Like he couldn't get a game in Swansea on loan. Oh, it was weird to bring him in on that too.
Is James still shocked at the wage?
I can't believe it.
That's why. That is why I flip so much about keeping him, lad, and Keita, because I think they earn far too much for what they contribute, like well too much.
Have you not seen
Andy Robertson was on less than him?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's the dream in life, isn't it? You know, you want to play for Liverpool. Yeah, well, just hang around. You're not going to play, obviously, but just get to train with them every day, and we'll pay you $3 million a year for the privilege for the next 5 years.
Yeah, so, I mean, just stay on TikTok, you did he?
How old is he? Is he young still?
25, 26.
Davis.
He's 26, so he's got one more big contract after this.
No, he's here till he's 30 odd. It's till 2026. That's 4 years. Wait here till he's 30. Oh my god. That's mad.
I mean, Tino's right. If you can get loan fees and stuff like that for it, pretty much it'll kill it off. But wow, that is the most expensive cheerleader in world football.
Not even a loser.
The one thing I will say about him is, like you mentioned about Reece Williams, Nat Phillips are both, for me, better centre-halves than him by a country mile, and still Reece Williams isn't good enough for Liverpool Football Club.
Curtis Jones sold $7,500 a week.
What?
How much?
$7,500 a week, it's saying here.
Can't be.
That's ridiculous.
I've seen his car, lad. There's no way. I seen him in his car the other week, and there's no way he's on 7.
Curtis
Oh,
Jones,
because it's still
Curtis Jones is on 15 according to LFC Globe.
That's even still, that is stupid. That is just stupid. He deserves more than that.
Yeah.
The only reason he's driving that is because Ben Davies is like that. Yeah, there you go, mate. Yeah, look at this. You want a car? Yeah, I can afford it. Go team.
It's mad.
What the hell? Wow. And who says we don't make transfer mistakes?
I know.
He's the only one, though, isn't he?
Yeah, big time, like.
Corker, Stephen Corker, maybe
Nah.
alone.
He was alone, wasn't he?
Is
You've got to
Naby
admit,
or fails?
Oh,
I'd say Ox and Naby. I'd say they both are, to be honest. Ox started well until that Roma injury, but that was years ago. You know what I mean? He's been shit since.
Injuries, didn't he? He was absolutely cracking it in the first one. Then he came back, he was a little less. Then he got the next major injury. And then I think he lost his pace.
And that's all he had, really.
And that was his main asset, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Through midfield. And once he lost that, he was, well, useless.
yeah.
So is Kaiser a transfer mistake, James?
No. You can't call him a transfer mistake, can you?
50 million, 120 grand a week. How many games has he played?
Enough.
What are we going off?
He's probably played, 15, 20 games average a season in the Premier League.
I wouldn't call him a mistake. Again, unfortunate because of niggly injuries and stuff like that.
Well, is
he double the player of Ben Davies because his salary is? Well, I would say he is.
We wouldn't know that. We've never seen Davies play.
Wow.
Nah, but Kaiser has only played 76 times for us in the Premier League since he started, and he's only got 7 goals and 5 assists. So when do you call him a mistake? Do you know what I mean? Like last season, he still had injuries, yet he was a bit fitter more, but he had that unbelievable game in the semi-final, and when he's good, he looks promising. But I did not know he only returned 7 goals and 5 assists out of 76 games. Like, I don't know about you, Tino, but I just want more from a midfielder.
Yeah, I want more from our midfield in general. Our midfield don't contribute goal-wise a whole lot in comparison. We've heavily relied on our forwards, and Naby Keita is one of them. In terms of output that we need more of. I could see him signing a new deal purely to protect his value, and then Liverpool again, another one where we just sell on. I don't think he's shown since he signed what we expected him to, for one reason or another. If I'm honest, I think we should get rid now and just go, right, sell him now, get as much money, 20, 30 million, whatever you can get for him, and go put all our eggs in one basket with Jude Bellingham or Nicola Barella or whoever the hell you want to bring in. I think it's time to get rid of both him and Ox and go all out to get the midfielder that we actually need.
What do you think of Anthony's comment, James, about Klopp's fault, not Kaiser's?
Well, yeah, it's because he plays Henderson ahead of him, doesn't it? Yeah, Milnerson. Now,
Jordan Henderson's the club captain.
I'm sorry, Jordan Henderson plays on the right side. We've had this debate many a time, but he plays on the right side of midfield against the most effective right back in world football and the most effective right wing in world football. Do you think both of those players could be as effective if they didn't have a water carrier doing some legwork for them? That's his job. I'm sorry, it's not pretty, but it's what his job is.
I genuinely thought you were going to come out and slate him.
No,
I genuinely thought that.
Look at it from a Tour de France perspective. They all carry the water for the one person to win it. And they all put the legwork in. They all do the hard yards for someone to win. That's what these players are.
I think it's fair to say Jordan Henderson's declined slightly over the last 12 months.
That I agree. He needs a replacement, but
he needs a longer term replacement and maybe shouldn't have been offered that big of a contract. But he's still the club captain who's still lifted the role for Liverpool. So I would have kept Stevie longer. So I feel like with Henderson, you don't make that same mistake just for his leadership qualities. What about you, Jay?
I wouldn't compare him to Gerrard. Like, I know you're not doing
I don't mean, yeah.
I know. I agree with James in terms of he is the water carrier, and it does mean that Trent and Salah get more space and time. But I also think he doesn't really have that killer pass. I know he's capable of it, but that's not good enough for me. Like, you can show
twice the
like
player of Ben Davis because that's what his contract is.
piss off, James.
120 grand a week.
140, isn't it?
No, like I said, the thing is for me, like you've seen the assist against Everton and the one against United, they're brilliant passes, but you remember them because they're so far apart from when they happen. Remember when we had Stevie Gerrard and Alonso? They play like 4 or 5 world-class passes a game, and you wouldn't talk about it because they do it every game. With Henderson, I just feel like he just lacks that killer pass. Obviously, he's capable of it, but it's not enough. And whenever he's got the ball from 25 yards out and he's going to shoot, I just don't even look because there's no point. And when he drifts out wide with Salah and Trent and crosses it in, he always puts this same cross in that's just dead slow, going nowhere. And when he's on the ball on that right wing, putting it in, you just deflate a bit because you think, oh, it's just going nowhere. That's all I've got to say about him. I just think creativity-wise with his killer pass and shooting, it's just poor. I think you can have someone better than that. But I understand what James is on about being obviously the engine.
The one thing I will say about Jordan Henderson.
Yeah, it's weird though.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about Jordan Henderson is the like you mentioned already, the leg work he puts in, the impact he has off the pitch as well as on it, I think is more valuable than anything else any of our midfield have to offer, if I'm being brutally honest. I don't see anybody who can come in and instantly provide the same impact off the pitch if we get rid of him or if we get rid of James Milner. I don't see anybody in that squad who can provide that same leadership, with the exception of maybe Virgil van Dijk. That is the one thing I think about him. I think that a lot of people miss, and I think that you've highlighted quite well.
Well, that makes a good comment here, though. If Henderson was not already at Liverpool and not English, would we buy him? Be honest. What about you, Jay?
No, I probably wouldn't, to be honest, mate. Just there's other players who work hard as well. Like Basuma works hard. He's like a water carrier, and he obviously hasn't got the creativity I'm on about hard like Henderson, but I just think you can get a midfielder who'll still work hard. Like obviously we're talking about Bellingham because he is that player, but even Barella, there are players who've got quality passing, killer balls that work hard. And I think if you were watching Henderson in another team, you wouldn't look at him and think, God, I'd love to have him on our side. I just don't think you would. I don't want Basuma in my side, but I can admire what he brings to the team, if you get what I mean. That's where I was going with the Basuma shout.
Ollie makes a comment. Henderson on the right-hand side is worse than bang average. Anthony saying that he's genuinely the level of John Joe Shelby.
I think that's harsh on
James.
It's harsh, but Shelby is probably a better passer.
I was just trying to make that comment.
What is it, Tom Huddleston? He's a cracking passer of a ball. But I tell you what, if you had to turn around and go back to goal, he'd still be running now. He's that slow. Shelby's good for about 3 red cards a year because he can't tackle.
Nah, do you know what, though? He wasn't good enough for Liverpool, but I'm happy to see him make a career in the Prem. I am. Like, I think he was just... He wouldn't have lasted under Klopp either, would he? He's too much of an angry head. But speaking of an Henderson replacement, Annie Sarr says the Bellingham rumour mill dried up. I don't think it has. Just what would you say, Jay? A deal like this takes a lot of time, doesn't it? If you're going to sign Jude Bellingham, £100 million not going to happen overnight, is it?
100%, lad. Yeah. Someone said the other day in one of the streams, it might have been you, Tino, about him still being a bit of a risk with his age. He is obviously an outstanding player, but someone brought up the point Dele Alli was for 2-3 years in the Prem, and fell off, which I don't think that will happen with Bellingham. When you listen to his interviews and stuff, he's dead mature. Dele Alli comes across as a bit of a tit, to be honest. But yeah, mate, this is a huge deal. It's not just a normal everyday signing. It's a generational talent player, and the fees involved are going to be astronomical if it's going to happen. His wages might not be, but the transfer fee will be, and there's so much more to these transfers now with image rights and people being on FIFA and mad stuff that you don't even think about. That's all involved in a transfer now. So I think the other thing is as well, Liverpool would like it to go quiet, so everyone just stop talking about it, and then bang out of nowhere, they put up a video and Bellingham's got a shirt there with 10 on. Hopefully.
James, I've been doing my best to convince you that's going to happen. But, I mean, Dortmund have spent £77.4 million already this summer, £50+ million on 2 strikers. You could argue they've used the Haaland money, but then I'd counter-argue it and say, well, that covers the 2 strikers, but what about the £18 million centre-back and the £5 million central midfielder? Dortmund don't spend money ever, so got to sell someone, haven't they?
Well, Dortmund normally make one, 1-2 transfers max, isn't it? You know, I think last year was Marlon, which was someone we were rumoured with, and they ended up getting him as well. So I think sometimes when we look at young talent, they go to Dortmund before they come to the Premier League and something like that. So like Jude has done, like Haaland did. Look, I don't want to believe it. If it happens, great, but I don't want to believe it because I don't want to get my hopes up. Because we've had a great transfer window, and I don't want to be disappointed because I'm happy with what we've done so far.
Did you hear me theory on Salah, James? Just to add to the fuel. So I said if Liverpool were done in the transfer market completely, why would you announce Salah this early? Wouldn't you wait till closer to the season starting to give everyone that lift? Because when we sign Nunes, everyone's made up, but 2 weeks later, no one's asked because they want the next player. Same with the Salah contract. Now that's done. Next week, no one's going to care. They just want to know who the next signing is. So from a PR or a media point of view, if you're not going to bring anyone in and get the fans excited, wouldn't it be better to announce that deal getting done like the week before the City game, just to give everyone that boost, rather than do it 4 or 5 weeks before the season starts and then everyone's just...
See Matty like, yep, definitely going to happen. No. Tactical contract announcements. I mean,
Ali, he makes a good point that Dortmund and that are resigned to losing Jude. Whether that be this summer or albeit next summer, they know they're going to lose him. Now, there was a comment there saying that if Dortmund sign a midfielder, I'm going to get overexcited. They have signed a central midfielder this summer. They've signed Ozcan from Cologne for $4.5 million. Now, us would probably think, who's that? Dortmund have probably been watching him for 2 years and know he's the replacement of Jude Bellingham. Surely, Tino.
Is this them signing the guy, giving him a year to learn the role, to learn the position, what they want from him, for them to sell Jude Bellingham to us next season, and for that guy just to slot straight into his place? Is that what they're thinking?
No.
The one thing. Sorry. Or is it them? Is it them just like if the? I am that confident it will not happen this summer. I will give away a Liverpool share of any choice to one random person on Twitter, and the transfer room account can tweet it out. I will pay for that. I'll give that away. I'm that confident it won't happen this summer.
Cost a lot of dough, them. You know, my fantasy league winner last year got one off me, and it's like £80.
No, what's happened to shirts these days?
You're going to get Bellingham 10 on the back of it, though, when you send it to the winner. So, you know.
Yeah, he's not going to choose the number 10, though, is he? Like, he was number 22 at Birmingham.
He wears 10.
But he was number 22 at Birmingham. He's number 22 at Dortmund. For consistency, evidently that number means something to him. He, in theory, would choose the number 22 at Liverpool.
So then Calvin Ramsey took it for his own reasons. Now, I don't think Liverpool, if they knew they were getting Jude Bellingham, would give a kid from Scotland his number. Surely he wants, like, we've kept number 10 empty.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but you keep it empty till someone's worthy of it, don't you? You don't
Exactly,
just give it
yeah.
away.
And Jude Bellingham is certainly worthy of
I
it.
wouldn't say Jude. Of course, he is worthy of it, but at the same time, I don't think there was anyone. We were saying this before. I don't think there's anyone that was worthy in the current squad to take it.
Mate, Naby Keita's wearing Steven Gerrard's number.
True.
Yeah, well, yes, but they thought Naby Keita was going to be
Good.
absolutely amazing, didn't they?
I said this the other day in the contract negotiation. If they give him a new contract, I'd say if you're signing a new contract, you're not having number 8. That's going, mate. You'd had that chance. Your balls that rattle. If you stay in, you can stay, but you're not having number 8, mate. You've disgraced our club captain.
Who else takes that number 8? Like, obviously, I feel like Curtis Jones wants it, with him taking 17 like Stevie did. Jude
I think
Bellingham
Trent wants it.
Trent, do you think he's not trademarking
I
the
think
60?
he wants 8.
He has to trademark the 66. He has to, surely.
He's the only Liverpool player to have won 66, but if you wanted a number in the 10, I don't want 2 or anything like that, because he could have had that by now. The only number he couldn't have had his hands on is 8.
I don't think he'd take 8.
I have to give it to Jude.
Yeah.
Isn't Gerrard as idle?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Me and Ali-
In a bit, Naby. See you later.
Have we just sorted Liverpool's transfer business and numbers out? Is that
but
what
also,
we've done?
like how it says Jude wants Liverpool and his brother wants it as well. Now in recent days we've been linked to Job heavily. Probably won't see him in the first team for a few years. We'll probably be in the under 23s. And I've heard
a contract like Ben Davis, won't he?
Yeah. Even this, Elliot taking 19, that's a big number. Sadio Mane had that number. That's still a big number for Liverpool.
19's a big number.
10's the number you want when you're a kid, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're playing footy, isn't that the number you want to be when you were playing? It's always the one I wanted, 10.
9.
I wanted
7.
Tiger.
I wanted 7. I was always a defender, but I wanted the number 7 anyways.
I think Diaz took his squad number for a reason. I think he could have had a choice of others and took 23 for a reason.
You would just shoot at 10, though.
Yeah, I mean, if Calvin Ramsey took a different number, then I'll start getting even more excited. But I do think Jude would come to Liverpool and take something like a 10, knowing English. Like, as much as we hate Michael Owen, he was still an icon for probably English kids growing up for how well he was in England. So taking a number that was worn by like him and stuff, and Mane, I think it adds value to it, does it not?
It does, but you've got to remember other players have won 10 that probably don't have value. I think Oyvind Leonardson wore 10.
Who?
No, I don't. Yeah.
The midfielder there, I remember him. He went to Tottenham, didn't he?
Yeah. There's numbers are numbers. There's loads of players that are great that have worn it, and some of them you'll remember, and there's loads of people like you won't. Most people probably won't associate James Milner with a number 7 once he finishes playing.
Yeah, I don't like that.
You'll be thinking Kenny, you'll be thinking Keegan, you'll be thinking other players. So I think it's what. Yeah, all right. Jude would be perfect for the number 10. Are we going to get him? Not sure. Is it an easy deal to do? Definitely not, because he has the choice of any club in the world. Like, his agent could knock on the door, say, "Yeah, Jude's interested. Can we have a chat?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, what do you want? Here's the red carpet."
He's rumoured to only want Liverpool, James.
Huh?
He's rumoured to only want Liverpool. That's a slight. He only wants us. Anyone else? Wants the Reds. Wants Jurgen Klopp's red.
That's one of Jurgen's big rules, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then it'll happen, won't it? Whether it happens this year, whether it happens next year, remains to be seen. And if it happens next year, I think my major concern is, does he then want someone else because someone else gets in his ear or his agent's ear or something like that? So I think there's a time pressure thing to this thing. And I agree. Maybe we should Naby Keita it and get it all done and dusted if Dortmund aren't prepared to let him go and have him come next year. But the sooner it's done.
Surely that makes the most sense to if we're not going to get him this year to do a Naby Keita-esque deal, given the World Cup's in December, and he could be unbelievable.
He could be, but he also could get a ridiculously long injury and ruin his career. Like, it makes sense because of the quality of the player is. It makes sense to do it. It makes sense to do it now, and wait that year. But I'm just, I don't see it happening. If I'm being brutally honest, I'm just not on that train yet. I think I need a little bit more convincing. Yeah, I'm not on that train yet. In all honesty,
this is something I asked Jack and Charlie a few weeks ago because it was interesting because it happened to, is it Musiala? He was in
Musiala,
yeah, and now because he's been in Germany 5 years, or is it 3 years, he can play for them. That's interesting, Jay, that maybe he has to come back to continue playing for England. But then he's already played the senior caps, so he can't change nation, can he?
No, he's already played for England, so it doesn't benefit that. It affects the club for registering players for the Champions League and stuff. You've got to have so many homegrown players.
Surely they pay more now then, because filling a homegrown slot with someone like Jude Bellingham makes more sense than waiting a year.
For Liverpool, it does, yeah. For Dortmund, they're not going to care less. And when we keep talking about it in this case for SDO, that doesn't benefit Dortmund. I don't see why Dortmund care about that, because we want that to happen now because it's easier to sign him now. Well, Dortmund don't care if it's easier for you to sign him now. They'd much probably prefer next year to have PSG, Real Madrid, Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, whoever else is in the mix, fighting for a signature. So it's not in Dortmund's interest to do a Cater-esque deal. If they're going to sell him, they may as well sell him this season. Because, yeah, he might have a great World Cup, he might have a terrible World Cup. Yeah. He might not get injured, he might just have a really bad World Cup. He might not even play for England in the World Cup, he might be on the bench every game. So it's in Liverpool's interest to do a Cater-esque deal, but it's not in Dortmund's interest. It's probably better for them to wait, which is why I've said to you many a times, lads, I think this is why we should strike this season.
James, you're convinced?
I'm now looking at his agent, because I saw Riddy in chat say that Philip was his agent.
Yeah.
I saw, and so ex-Liverpool player as an agent, previous number 2. You know, we all associate Philip Degan with the number 2. I think it was either 2 or 25.
Wasn't it 27?
Was it? I thought it was 25 or 2.
Sure, it's 27, you know.
Nah, and if that doesn't tempt you enough, James, we were going to spend 70 million on Tchouaméni and get Darwin Núñez this summer. So Liverpool was prepared to spend big, and they always are in the market should the right player be available. We've identified Jude Bellingham as that right player. Liverpool know
27. Sorry.
Liverpool know though goodwill. If he had goodwill, if he pissed us all off and England done decent in the World Cup because of Jude Bellingham, then his value is not going to be the reported 80-odd million, is it?
His value is going to be through the roof regardless, isn't it? Because 6 months of bad form doesn't change 5 years of great form and the fact that he is so young. Now, the perk is any club that spend big money on him can spread it over a long period of time. You know, they can give him a 7-year contract and it's not outrageous. So, no, there's nothing that's going to decrease his value. Unfortunately, his value is only going one way until he hits 27. Then it starts to decline probably if his career starts to go down. Unless Dele Alli's out, you know, and he's at his peak now, and then suddenly he's worth nothing. I'm going to coin that phrase. He's Dele Alli'd out.
Yeah. I like that.
He's only going up his value. If we don't sign him this year, his value is going to go up another 20 million, I think, over the course of the year, minimum.
Yeah, and Eddie makes a point in Allier about his young brother Job Tino. Apparently, we want to get him. Surely that's a selling point for Liverpool for Jude, isn't it? If we manage to get Job, who is highly, highly thought of, some people say he is even better than Jude. Surely, if we get him, that's more of a selling point for him to come and potentially in the next few years play in the Premier League with his brother. They've dreamt of that the whole life, haven't they?
Yeah, man. Like, we should just sign Job, say to Jude, or just say to Jude, we'll sign your brother if you sign for us. Like, have that in his hands, give him that opportunity to play with his brother at the top level of professional football. Like, that's a kid's dream. Like,
it's like what Man United did with Phil Neville, wasn't it?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Like, I haven't seen much of Jude play, if I'm being brutally honest. Honestly, didn't know he existed until probably about 3 months ago. But if we can do anything to try and sweeten the deal to get Jude in the club, then I'm all for it.
I mean, Anthony makes a good point, Jay, that they wanted 125 for Sancho and went down to 75. So when do you reckon we can expect to see Paul McCartney on the cop singing Hey Jude?
It is a good point with the Sancho one, and I've got to be honest, I'm not too sure why the valuation went down. I'm not sure if it was just Sancho said, look, I'm
Have you
off.
seen
I'm
Sancho
going.
play? That's why the valuation went down.
Yeah.
Crap.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's just like Balassi.
He was all right towards the end of the season, but Jesus, what a crap season it was.
The one at Tottenham, though, went on the back of him signing him. He had another really good season, didn't he? So I'm not too sure why his value went down, to be honest. But I agree with James. I said this myself the other day on one of the streams. I don't think Bellingham's value goes down at all. I think the trajectory is probably only go up. And did Sancho have it in his scores? But he didn't figure it. It was just less than what he had, wasn't it? Or
I don't know, because if his value was 125, and he wouldn't take anything less if he had a release clause, surely.
yeah, I can't remember. I had a feeling he had a release clause, or he made him a promise: we'll let you go at a certain price if you stay a year or something. I remember there being some sort of deal where they let him go, type of thing. Bit like Haaland. Now they knew he was going, although he did have a release clause. I don't think it will be the same with Bellingham, though. It is a good point, obviously, but I can only see his value going up, to be honest.
Makes a good point again, James. Put 100 mil on the table now. Dortmund be tempted, yeah?
If someone put 100 mil on the table, of course they're going to be tempted. Now, yes, we can put 100 million on the table, but it's a very, very un-Liverpool thing to do.
Yeah, but we just broke the wage structure. No one said Salah had signed for that. We've done that. Maybe the whole model of sell to buy has faded, and John Emery wants to win the lot because he wants more profit. Think of the share deals, right? But this is where it affects Liverpool massively now, and I think people forget this. Buying someone like Jude Bellingham, people buy that shirt all around the world because he's a generational talent, and Liverpool now get a percentage of shirt sales through Nike. So signing Jude Bellingham probably pays for itself in about 3 years in his shirt sales alone. Because he'd be the top one of the top shirts, names on the back of shirts, 100%.
Like the Salah one has gone through the roof the second it got announced. And I think you mentioned something earlier, which is, getting both down to the training ground. You see the Carvalho video when he was with his dad, and they walked out on the balcony and just looked at what that AXA Centre was, and we're just looking over the pitches, and we're just dumbfounded by it. I think it's been reported, hasn't it, that Jude's family have been to the AXA training centre to sort of look around and stuff like that. There is not a chance you walk around that place and are not absolutely awestruck by what's been built.
So you're signing on the best line before you go out the doors, aren't you? Just not announced, yeah.
Depends how we do it, doesn't it? But you should do. But, and rightly so, regardless of whether he's going to sign for us or not, his family should look around every single training ground, what it is. But I believe ours and City's are just a different league to everything else out there. I know City, I
don't think he'd go to City, though. I think, by the sounds, he comes from a family with good morals, and you'd like to think they wouldn't choose the oil over a good team. But being even in City, this argument, well, being at Liverpool, he's only 2 hours away from home as well, so he can go home often. They finish quite early in the afternoon. He can go home and see family whenever he wants, drive back and stuff like that.
And Davis can drive him on his spectacular wages.
Yes, him on 60 pounds a week.
Yeah, Ben Davis's jets.
But surely his shirt sales pays for his transfer. Like Anthony's just said there, we've probably maybe made close to that just off Salah shirt sales this year, haven't we?
Yeah, potentially. Didn't they say something similar with United and Pogba? That is when he first signs, the shirt sales basically covered the majority of his transfer fee. It's not something that well, it is something that has been reported before with previous players at different clubs. So, like, he's like we've all said, he's such a huge talent, a generational talent. You sign him, you instantly, financially and commercially, he offers you so much more than just a regular signing. We've talked about the percentage of shirt sales. We've talked about his image as a footballer, his image rights, and how if he goes to that world-class elite level, like we talk about, like Xavi, Iniesta, Zidane, like people of that ilk, that level, if he hits that level financially and commercially, that's going to set Liverpool for the next 10, 15 years, potentially.
It doesn't guarantee. He might want to keep all of his image rights. We couldn't get them off Salah, which was mad. That's why you don't see him in any club stuff really, apart from the shirt. But Bellingham, everything just makes sense, and I just feel like it's got to happen, hasn't it, Jay? Like, can we really go into the season challenging, even if we just went for the Champions League and the league, with what we've got in midfield now? Can we really make a good title challenge?
Well, yeah, because we did last year. That doesn't worry me, but adding someone to it can take you that little step further. And what you'll always find with champion teams is they improve the team every season. Man United done it every single year, and pretty much in the league every single year. City have just won it. They've just brought in Phillips to replace Fernandinho, Alvarez, and Erling Haaland. So winners don't sleep. That's the way it is. You improve every season when you're a winner. And I'm not an FSGL type of person, to be honest, but I think that's where probably they've slacked a bit. I feel like when we won the league and Champions League, we might have missed a bit of a trick not bringing one or two players in. Luckily, we've got Diaz now, so it has worked out.
We haven't even replaced Ronaldo yet, have we?
No, not properly. And I've spoke about this loads of times, mate. Our midfield doesn't come without its injury problems anyway. For me, the big one is if Thiago gets injured. I don't know where the creativity comes from in the middle. I just don't. I don't know what creative midfielder we've got, to be honest. And kind of the same with Fabinho. I know Henderson can cover that position, but I feel like it's a big drop off when either Thiago or Fabinho are injured. And I do think we need a midfielder, to be honest. The thing about Bellingham is, it's like what you and me used to say about him. Mbappe's not just a signing; he's an investment because of his age. He's a 10-year signing. If for whatever reason, 5 years down the line, if we end up like we were under Hodgson or something and fall off like Arsenal have, he has resale value. It's them type of signings, to me, are no-brainers, because the young players that want to win everything, they're hungry. If it works out, you win everything, and you can sell him if he wants to leave. If it doesn't work out, he's still got a resale value because he's young. So these type of deals for me, even though the high transfer fees involved, they're sort of no-brainer deals. The shirt sale thing that you've mentioned, I remember first time I ever heard anything like that was when Real Madrid signed Ronaldo and he was 90, 80 million, and we'd never heard of a transfer fee like that. And everyone was going to Perez saying, how can you sign a player for this much money? And he said the shirt sales will pay for that in 3 weeks. And it did. I think it was less than 3 weeks. The shirt sales paid for the transfer. So, you know, you've got to look at the bigger picture sometimes. Yeah, there's a risk, but sometimes there's more reward by taking a risk.
I will say, with regards to our midfield, though, you know, Harvey Elliott, he's looked unreal in pre-season training in the videos.
Season relying. I mean, I'm Curtis Jones' biggest lover. I think Harvey Elliott's got a big potential, but can we go into a Premier League season relying on two very inexperienced kids?
Well, they're not inexperienced. Curtis Jones now should be taking that step because he's had 3 years of rotation, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's 21. He's still a kid. Harvey Elliott's been
3 years. Harvey Elliott's had 2 years. You could let Harvey Elliott off, you know, in and out a little bit more. Carvalho is probably coming into his second season. Is he going to be a midfielder? Is he going to be a winger? Don't know. I'm not saying we don't need an absolute power. We need a Henderson replacement. We need someone that's going to be not the face of the club, but the moral compass of the club. And that's kind of what Henderson is as a leader. And we need someone to develop with him on that, to take over from the Milner Henderson thing. So from that perspective, Jude Bellingham and Trent Alexander-Arnold as a leadership team for the future would be perfect. But is it now? Is it next year? That I don't know.
I'll have to stop you there, Ali. Jude Bellingham's a generational talent, and Curtis Jones is not a generational talent. Curtis Jones is very, very talented, but Jude Bellingham is like Mbappe, Haaland level of talent. Like, they don't come around often. How confident was you? Tyler Morton, but Tino, could you go into the season with the midfield we've got and comfortably think? I mean, I'll always believe we'll win the league, but can you honestly go into the season? Like, we still haven't got a Wijnaldum replacement, and I don't care what anyone says, he was vitally important for what we were so attacking with him, because he just stay back and get the ball, mop the ball up. He wasn't the most fancy midfielder, but he done the job. We haven't replaced him. Hendo, we're saying, is probably going to be replaced by Jude Bellingham, and Thiago's not getting any younger. So we probably need 2 midfielders, don't we, really? Are you confident going into the season with Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones as your options? Season's be done by December.
I'm confident every season. I'm confident every season we go into that we're going to challenge. I don't have faith in the players in midfield, with the exception of Thiago. The fact that they're all getting old, we haven't replaced them. It's a big worry, and it's a big worry for every Liverpool fan out there. You look at Curtis Jones, like we've mentioned, and Harvey Elliott. I don't see them comfortably coming in and dominating and making that step up. I honestly
shouldn't have to either, should they? Like, they should be coming through the youth system and playing minutes that are available and developing probably in the under-23s still.
With the youngsters, it's about playing them in the right games. It's not just about throwing them in there. It's about playing them in the right games at the right times, at the right moments, to aid their development. And going into this season 1 or 2 midfielders short is not helping them. It won't help them long term. Fair enough, they'll get a fair amount of games, but long term, development wise, stylistically, tactically, it's not going to help them at all. But is this Jurgen Klopp going, I'm happy with how I am. I'm going to put it all on my youngsters, Tyler Morton, a couple of the other youngsters we've already mentioned, and see how they do, and then I'll reassess next season. And if we do need Jude Bellingham or another player on top of him, we'll then reassess and go, right, I'm getting that guy, and then I'm comfy. Or is this the season that they truly step up and grab their Liverpool careers by the balls and go, right, I'm a Liverpool player, I deserve this share, and I deserve to be playing every single week for the next 5 years? Is this that make or break moment that Jurgen Klopp's trying to provide them?
Shay, is it a worry? I mean, we didn't lose the league by 1 point last year, but City have added Erling Haaland into the mixer there. I think the worry for me is the attack and the defence for Liverpool seems like it's sorted for the next 5-10 years, to be honest with you. But the midfield just seems like the one that still isn't got the longevity of it, doesn't it?
It is one of the main problems with it. Well, there's 2 problems with our midfield. It's aging and it's injury prone. Most of them midfielders pick up knocks throughout the season. Henderson picks up knocks, Fabinho picks up knocks, Thiago picks up knocks. Keita's had 1 season that he didn't, and he still did throughout.
Yeah.
So none of them are massively reliable. But the thing for me is, I agree with Tino. I think we actually need 2 midfielders this season. Definitely 1. You could argue 2 or 1. But the problem is, if we don't get 1 this season, we definitely need 2 next season. Henderson's a year older. Milner won't get another year after this. Thiago's going to be a year older, and he'll be in the final year of his contract then, so probably his last season. That's three midfielders gone, because Henderson will take the Milner role. Milner's gone. There's no way Oxlade-Chamberlain will get another season on top of this one. You're talking 4 midfielders leaving, 5 potentially with Keita. So how can you not sign at least 1 this season? Because if not, you're going to need to sign 2 or 3 players next season, and 2 of them are going to have to be starters. So where's that money coming from? Would it not be easier to get 1 this season, 1 next? And that's where it's different for us in City. The reason I think City pippers is because when they're starting 11 aren't playing, the drop-off isn't big. You replace Sterling with Mahrez, you replace next season, obviously it'll be Haaland with Alvarez. You've got options all over the pitch. Once our main 11 in the midfield isn't there, if you're missing Trent, Thiago, Van Dijk, Salah, any of them, it's a massive difference in our team. At City, it's not as big a difference.
Yeah.
think you make an interesting point, but we lost the league by 1 point, didn't we? And I think City have declined.
Yeah.
Yes, they've signed Haaland, great signing. Calvin Phillips, great signing. But they've lost Jesus, the striker, when City had no strikers. In the season, they had no strikers. He's now a striker anyway, confusing. They've lost Fernandinho, and they're about to lose Sterling to Chelsea for 45 million, aren't they?
Yeah.
Now, I think that takes them down a little bit. Just as I think us losing Mane takes us down a little bit.
Haaland replaces Sterling's goals and Jesus' goals together.
Does he, though?
There's no way they don't replace Sterling either, I think. I think if they do sell Sterling, they're going to bring someone in.
Definitely him and Alvarez get the same numbers as Sterling and Jesus got this year. 100%. That Alvarez scores for fun in Brazil. Even if he gets half in England, he's still 20 goal a season striker, surely.
Maybe, but that puts him Golden Boot territory, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's definitely
just made 20 goals across everything.
If I was a better man, my money genuinely would probably be on Erling Haaland or Darwin Núñez to be a Golden Boot this year. I've just got a feeling that Núñez will set the world alight, to be honest. But Haaland's definitely in the Golden Boot shout. Harry Kane is every year, more or less. He's better than Harry Kane. 10 times the player.
Yeah, it's just if you can say Sterling's always fit. Sorry.
Who's that other kid City have got? Who he broke through every now and then? Plays up top. Is it Dela?
Yeah.
That's him, what Palmer. See, like, I've watched a bit of him, and I think he might break through next season. Don't get me wrong, he's not Sterling. Sterling obviously puts up boss numbers every season, but if they don't replace him in the market, which I think they will, because you probably have to with someone as good as Sterling, really, for City, I think that's when they'll promote him as well, though. He'll get more game time this season because he does look a player, honestly.
Does. We'll leave it there, though, for today. Make sure if you are watching us 99 you do leave a like and a subscribe. It does help us out a lot. And thank everyone for the interaction throughout the stream. It's allowed us to talk for an hour when we didn't have a single topic to talk about before we came. It really helped us there. But yeah, nice one to James, Tino, and Jay. I've been Matty, a nice one for tuning in to